world of Len, a great war between the continents of Ebros and Alkish is forcibly brought to an end by the Tempest, a cataclysmic storm that rages over the surrounding oceans. An uneasy peace has been forged, with relations growing colder each passing decade. A party of adventurers, calling themselves the HYDRA, are the only ones to notice the cracks in the ice. A race against time before the world is plunged into the freezing depths of total war. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link, in a debt to a friend. A homebrew campaign.
Session 29 of A Debt to a Friend begins with essentially the end of the sharks that were swarming around us, having been defeated by the party. Cornelius and his player sticks to their guns about how Cornelius can't swim and he's going to roleplay it. Good on him. And so in order to perhaps contribute to the building of the raft to escape the island on which we are marooned, he needs some beams and barrels to keep him afloat, or rather buoyant. It's the same thing. In tow with Ragnar, as he has some rope tied around Ragnar's waist, he paddles out and collects more wood to help with the raft, while Ragnar dips below the sea to enter a weapons cache. Its lock broken in the shipwreck. Inside, the contents begin to float to the surface. A trident, a spear, a javelin, a light crossbow, 20 bolts, and a net. Cornelius takes the net. H.Y.D.R.A, having been teleported from the bow of the ship, decides that he's going to return there after I vortex warped him to safety. And he decides that he's going to once again fight the door. Or at least he tries to, and he fails. He takes a puff on his pipe as he mutters arcane notes, and with that he transforms into a mist which flies through the lock as a gaseous form. While he taunts the door, the ship creaks with an almost sarcastic response, as if to say, "Still didn't break me down though." He thinks it says. He then uses his wander secrets to find no traps inside the captain's quarters. He goes in and he finds that inside is a chest, and within it is a magical crossbow. Underneath the crossbow is a secret compartment, and in it he finds the glisten of golden discs, 500 gold pieces. The crossbow has a +1 enchantment, and it fires bolts of water, removing the necessity to reload. And as far as I'm aware, it doesn't actually require ammunition. I think it just summons the water into the firing mechanism. Ted decides that he's going to leave the ship now and investigates the ocean floor, seeing a chest that is older than the ship itself. Although there is some debris from the sea effort, the ship which we had boarded and promptly crashed. The chest is onyx, and it is jewelled with green trim. With a religion check of 0, he can't quite identify this idol of a golden tentacle which he cannot identify. Now, a lesser man would make some sort of remark about this, but I am not. As he tries to take it, he thinks he sees something in the inky depths out of the corner of his eye, ripples in the ocean which aren't there. He can't fathom the idea of getting rid of this idol. He doesn't really notice that the idol is quite firmly gripped in his hand. All of a sudden, the sea around him begins to recede, almost into a dark, endless blackness. How much more black can this be? None more black. Surrounding him is the void. For a brief moment he keeps hearing chanting, He can't comprehend its meaning. The darkness about him begins to move. It's alive. The idol now begins to glow in his hand. The chanting continues, but he can now pick out words in abyssal with comprehend languages. And now it all begins to make sense. It hurts, for he is in his house. The dead god dreams, waits. Should he be reunited with his idol, he shall return it to his slumber. He shall return to his slumber. As he failed the wisdom saving throw required to resist the psionic effects of this entity, he takes 19 points of psychic damage. And he finds himself back at the bottom of the ocean. His lungs burn as he's held his breath this long, and he realises he can't do it much longer. He breaches the surface mercifully as he swims as hard as he can, harder than he has ever done before, breathing in gulps of sweet air. Nobody else knows what occurred as he makes his way back, the idol still firmly in his grip. I investigate the southeastern wreckage as I find bodies and a serviceable dinghy. However, as I start moving the boards around and the remainder of the ship that's holding the dinghy between a rock and some hard places, it floats to the top and it grinds upon stone, and it's loud. Anything under the water can hear this, and it sends great tremors out. Sharks circle once again. And this is the second time now we've had to learn the hard way. You don't split the party. I think it's now going to have to be a rule where... And actually, I want to make a bit of a side point here. Like, okay, we know now not to split the party, and I think after this session we've all agreed, like, we're gonna go and do things together. Unless it's like in a sort of role-play environment where, like, say for example, one of us wants to go step away to pray, or something like that. You don't need everyone there to sort of watch you carefully to make sure you don't go mad. We don't need to walk into a constabulary knowing that we're gonna get ambushed or whatever. You know, maybe we will, and that might drive the story onwards. But I think, for the most part, we need to actually start doing things together and, like, not just clam up, because I do that a lot. And I'm constantly looking about, thinking, what can I do to contribute to this? However, there may be a potential problem with this, because, like, this group relies a lot on the help action. We constantly assist each other. And I don't want to have happen what basically you get with some people, and like it would have been me as well originally, with guidance spam. So like you're getting constant advantage on checks just by being there. And our DM just asks, how are you assisting? And saying, well, actually that's not quite enough to provide advantage. But yeah, it's like I think we've got to be careful that if we are going to stick together at all times, we can't just using the help action and things like that, because otherwise that's going to kind of get annoying and things like that. So we need to think of a way of like saying, okay, I'll come along, but it's really because like my character hasn't got anything else better to do, and they might still want to rest up a bit, bearing in mind that most of the party is essentially hale and hearty and fit, so they don't really need to rest up all that much. So we'll see. Anyway, getting back to this. Fortunately, I do have Nero with me, but Nero is bitten by a shark which leaps up into the air and snatches him and brings him down to the surface, and he starts drowning. I think he's like one death save away in the end from being killed, so Rakana, seeing this, hurls himself into the water. And he's just burning through whatever rages he's got to just try and drive himself through the water a bit easier. So yeah, I'm able to heal him, and Rakana cracks every bone in my body, hugging me and him, even though I was kind of the one that got Nero in trouble in the first place. Nero's great as a scout, but we've learnt that even he is not safe from sea creatures hovering in the air. No, him hovering above the air does not make him safe from sea creatures. Not sea creatures hovering in the air. Never mind. So yeah, I heal him. And I use a 3rd level healing spell. Like, he's got like 3 hit points, and I'm like, I just use like even a 1st level spell would at minimum heal him to full health, or more than full health. So, never mind, eh? But that's okay. It's okay. Thankfully, 3rd level spells were not in such dire need here. And I must admit, I need to get into the habit of using those higher level spells more often, because like Cornelius is constantly like I think he actually just looks at the bottom of this sheet and then goes up. He saves his 1st level spells to last, and he uses his 1st level spells, which is honestly pretty good. You know, like the best thing you can do as a healer is to kill your enemies, because you can't out heal the damage in D&D. You have to put enemies down first. So yeah, I need to get more into that habit as well of using those spells instead of just preserving them. So yeah. So moving swiftly on. So we now have a dinghy, which isn't particularly that good. It would have been like a lifeboat on the sea method, and it's a fine enough boat, but to last as long as we want it to, I don't think it's gonna help all that much. The raft would be much better. So, once we've got the dinghy, we look around the rest of the wreckages. Fortunately, there's no more shark attacks, as we find a barrel of drinking water, enough rations to last us about a week, 2 with the current crew, and if we wanted to put it in a stretch. And we also find the navigator's supplies and sea charts as well. So one thing as an artificer I can do is, at the end of like a long rest, I can magically conjure up some tools. And even if I were to use navigator supplies, I wouldn't actually have the sea charts and such. So I might have like the sextant and the compass and all this sort of thing, but I probably wouldn't actually have the sea charts themselves to actually navigate the waters, which isn't particularly helpful. We also find as well a gigantic pearl worth 1,000 gold pieces, roughly, which I'm thinking would be really good for the identify spell. So, yeah. But that would have to be for like a big identify, a big psionic screwdriver. We decide that once we've got everything together, we're going to put the raft together. And we have a much better time putting the raft together than we do a bridge from before. And yeah, this was a fun little activity. And we have a serviceable raft, and we make our way on to the sea. It'll take us a few days to get, possibly about a week, maybe 2, to get to H.Y.D.R.A, or rather Ebros, the continent. We set sail. On the following day, the weather worsens, and we must prioritise which of the components we can salvage on the raft, as it's falling apart. We have a makeshift shelter, which I'm trying to mend with the cantrip, but a minute is a very long time in a situation like this. Tack secures the rudder, but the force knocks him prone, and Bozak Helmsman, the only surviving member of the crew, is holding on for dear life. The crew of the Sea Method, I should say. Cornelius tries to secure the drinkable water and the food, and he managed to catch it, but the force as it's sliding off the raft knocks him into the water, and he is holding on to the edge as best he can, while Rackanar and Rigsby are trying to help him up, and really struggling. It's in this moment where we lose our makeshift shelter, and we will not get as many benefits from long resting, as it just flies away in the storm. And just when we think everything's fine, there is a wave roaring ahead. And it's roiling, and it's getting ready to smack the raft and us as hard as any force of nature possibly could. It hits Cornelius, Rigsby, Nero and I, and it does about 8 points of bludgeoning damage, and it kills Nero. I've got about a minute to make the decision as to what to do with Nero, because I have the Revivify spell reflavoured as diamond-tipped jumper cables. And I can use those on Nero, but it's about 300 gold pieces that the party has then lost.
£13, I mean, I ain't got that sort of money.
I'm not paying 13 quid.
No.
I decide that I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna have to revive him. And so I grab them. I don't know anything about eagle anatomy, but I put them under his wings, around probably where I guess his ribcage is. Just go at great personal risk to myself, given that we are in, you know, stormy weather and there's water everywhere and we're handling electricity. Fortunately, Nero is revived. And he says, "I saw the great skybirds in the sky." Finally revived. That's enough excitement for one day, as the calm begins to push away the storm, and we try to rest the night. On the next day, a lady on the side of our raft giggles with what appears to be seaweed for hair. "Are you lost?" she asks, to which Cornelia says, "No." "What is it you're doing?" she asks, to which Cornelius replies, "We're sailing." "I see. Do you know where you're sailing to?" "Oh, we're sailing to Brecca." "Well, farewell." And rather befuddled by this encounter, she plops into the water and vanishes from sight. To which Cornelius wishes her a good day. And you know what? Kudos for not, like, submitting to a siren song. However, we may realise that this might have actually been the worst thing the party has ever done. Short of actually going into the temple, going into some ruins to look for a temple that we knew for a fact wasn't there. So, I can't really judge Cornelius too harshly. Cornelius puts this encounter down to hallucinations. He doesn't know why, but drinking the salty seawater seems to make him only more and more thirsty. And this is making him increasingly mad, he puts it down to. Why he won't drink the clean water that we have, I've no idea. On an unrelated note, mayonnaise does count as food. However, it would make us violently ill if we were to rely on that from the alchemy jug. It's a good job we did have some food prepared. Also, as well, I managed to prepare a day's worth of like shark food, shark meat, but not being accustomed to shark, it's not really something that I could do much with and get any more than a day's worth of rations out. But no, fair enough. So, next we're approached by a the sea is fairly calm at this point, and the travel is again mostly uneventful. When all of a sudden we're approached by a dinghy filled with 2 goblins, a bugbear, and a hobgoblin. To which they say, "Avast, ye scurvy jagabats! Surrender your loot to us, or die!" Cornelius casts Shatter and just blows up the basically everything but the hobgoblin, who quickly grabs the oars and just starts sort of sailing backwards. Yeah. I imagine it's like in a Looney Tunes fashion as well, where the boat's actually hopping on the water to try and get out as quickly as it can. Yeah. Well done. That's why we like 5th level spells, or whatever level he's casting at now. Yeah. So. Also as well, Cornelius is now started role-playing, singing his songs. Which is an experience unto itself. I would come to this game every Sunday, or rather every other Sunday, just to hear Cornelius sing for 5 seconds or 10 seconds and then leave. If that was all this game was, because it is in itself an interesting experience. I would love to have actually broke out into song myself with my own rendition of Iron Maiden's Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which has lately been my favourite song ever. And this is the appropriate time to do it, you would think. Unfortunately, the poem by, I believe, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, forgive me if I haven't got the name right, I've listened to it that many times and I still don't know. It does involve the mariner killing the albatross, and, well, I've kind of already done that once already, so I don't think it would be quite appropriate to do that. Yeah, he also uses Cornelius also uses his crossbow to reel in some fish, rather than with the fishing tackle that we got from earlier, and a net. Damn it. So. The final day that we have the raft, there is a ship which approaches, and it goes by, and her name is the Lucky Gambit, which is making her way to Braca, as we're offered some rescue from a trusty captain. He is from Denmark, as are the crew. Are peoples who are somewhat closed off, but are opening up, especially with the prospect of trade for beauteous trinkets. Denmark, as I understand it, is like the trade capital of the world. It's like the absolute best market town, the hub of trade for all of Alan. Yeah, I believe that their motto is everyone has a price or a vice, just to set the tone for the kind of people you're dealing with. And I imagine that a lot of people come to them, they have a lot of end ports, and maybe they're actually trying to do some exporting themselves by the looks of things. Now, unfortunately, I didn't quite catch the captain's name. I was filling in the rest of my notes, but he seems like a good guy, and he says that, look, we're willing to take you on, but we need you to work, and that was the original deal that we had with the sea method. So that's fair enough. I chit-chat with the crew. Cornelius goes to the kitchen and speaks to the cookie, who serves him gruel, which was rather evocatively described as it looks like it has the texture of tar, and yet at the same time it is quite watery and lumpy. And yeah. He speaks to a dwarf as well about some like tales that he may have heard, and yeah, apparently there's mermaids who can take people directly to their home in the water temple. Isn't that funny? Funny that. The two continue chatting, and Cornelius sings about the mermaids, the guardians, the ocean, and for this, I give him my general inspiration point. I don't know what I did to deserve that in the last session, but I'll take it, and I'll give it to Cornelius, who far more deserves it. Yeah. Because honestly, it was just such a laugh. Oh dear, this is why I need to record these sessions. I'd love to actually put things like that in the video, because like moments like that, you need to be there. Tak keeps himself to himself. He contemplates the idol that has not left his hands since picking it up. He rolls a D100, very Call of Cthulhu, and it lands on a 4. The ship lurches off to the side, and he feels, or rather he hears, a titanic roar from beneath the depths. Titanic, you say? Those on the sides of the deck notice tentacles rise from the ocean depths, and the captain yells, "Kraken! Man the ballistae!" A ballistae, I don't know. I heard the word in Elric and Melniboné. I should remember it. It was only mentioned once, and I should know it. The pronunciation is ballistae, ballistae, bastila, I don't know. Ballistas. There are 3 mounted weapons to the front, centre, and rear. Now, I have been a bit cheesy with this, and I had prepared water breathing on the ship. Cornelius, because I had, like, in my arsenal I have water walking, water breathing, and air bubble. I thought I could use those. It'd be a bit cheesy, but use it while you got it, you know? So yeah, so I cast water breathing on like everyone in the party and whatever crew that I can see. I can cast it on up to 10 people, and it lasts like 24 hours. And it doesn't affect your ability to breathe on land. Cornelius cast Dissonant Whispers. Rackenat evacuates Nero into the bowels of the ship, which is a rather safe idea, Nero believes. And Takafrea, well, Tak takes the idol from which he is inseparable, and he, not wearing his armour, leaps into the water. From it emerges tentacles and more. A mass of oozing darkness pulls the gigantic figure of the Titan away from the ship. Something from the idol spawns and wraps around the Kraken and tears it from as its tentacles are hovering above the ship, ready to pull it down to the depths. It's just sucked away. Something in his mind tells him that the Kraken, and indeed the idol, shall remember this. Tak gains a new trait. He can roll a d20, and something will happen. And furthermore, he has advantage on resisting effects which are attempt to read his mind or otherwise manipulate him psychically. I do like that. I will say, like, I have, like, my special interest in D&D is like psionics, and this is cool. This is really cool. And this further, like, because like I was doing some editing. Side note here, I was doing some editing for a dungeon that I'm designing for the next part of Novaspec, and I didn't realise how much I want the Great Old Ones and the Fathomless and all this sort of thing to actually have an impact in the story. So, yeah, this like really inspired me to go, you know what? Maybe I will actually do more with this idea. Maybe it's not just going to be the undead. Maybe there's something going to be even stranger going on. Yeah. So, we'll see. We will see. Tak returns to the surface, realizing that his idol has been removed from his person. It's been destroyed in its sacrifice to send the Kraken to whence it came. The captain says, "You did the good there, but stick to the right land, eh?" The captain gives a mirthful smile as he goes below to offer the crew the good run. For the first time for most of us, the port of... Now, I've said Mill Harris. I don't think that's right. Let me have a look. Where's my map? I do actually have the World of Lan as my desktop background, but that's not going to help me here, I don't think. What's it called? World of Lan. The port of Nelrius, I believe. Nelhrius. Keep that map up actually, because that's going to be quite useful. However, this may be the first time for Cornelius and Rakanar and myself, but for Takavria, this is home. He's back in Braca, back in Ebros, back in the USSR. Not quite the USSR. Maybe. I don't know yet. We'll find out. A mixture of ancient and imperial architecture and original Ebrosian buildings, Braca and its tropical jungles await. I decide to take the time as we are approaching the docks to put away my military clothing, my cap and coat in particular. Preferring to keep on my usual boots, shirt and trousers, and the sash as well might not be such a giveaway. Although I might wrap that around my head like a bandana and try to perhaps look cool in the in Fantasy Vietnam. We might have Fantasy Vietnam. I don't know yet. It'd be interesting to see what Braca is. And step off the lucky bang. The lucky gambit. To cheers from the crew as we all made it alive. To them, we are the Kraken Slayers. Although I think that honour goes entirely to Takavria, who has named his, I believe he named his weapon Dragonsbane, or Scalebane. But I think like Kraken Slayer might be a good one. For most of us, this is a foreign land, but to Tak, he is now home. He rolls 17 perception, and he sees to be what appears to be a raven perched on a lamppost at the far end of the dock, cawing at him in particular, and flaps towards the west. To which Takavria says, "Come, we must make our way." And it's a shame that there is such urgency to our quest, because this place is absolutely beautiful. And before I continue any further, I'd like to credit Casasterio, or Casasterio 89. They have a Patreon and an Instagram. Casasterio's Mappery. Mappery is IE on the end. I want to do that because I want to do that more often, because like this, especially with this map, it's a gorgeous map. What a fantastic map! I think this was probably made in like campaign cartography, which I've just bought on the Humble Bundle. It's always on offer, like once a month. I've got to get this, and I need to make maps like this because this is stunning. And as I say, yeah, because of the urgency of our quest, it's a shame that we can't really stop around and look at the markets, because it is a beautiful scene, and, like, bear in mind, like, for my character, who, she's never really left or gone that far in her adventures. Like, the furthest she's actually gone on the world map is probably, come to think of it, Oxglen. You know? Very rarely going beyond the border. Nor could, at the time, she really be seen to be going across the border in military garb, with the tensions going on in Bracca. Sorry, in Alan. We navigate the markets, making our way as the mostly drow population wear sun hats and other means to protect themselves from the pleasant but still powerful sun. I imagine, especially to a character like mine, they would not be used to the tropics, and yeah, it's probably going to burn very easily. Yeah, they'll look even worse after all they've gone through. I hear a voice in my head to tell us to go to Kirinor, and that who are we to stop the mighty HYDRA? Oh yes, we know of you. There's a sense of sarcasm, derision in the voice. We are invited to the Tranquility Warden over the top of my head, which is like the, I think, seat of governance in Bracca and, well, Eberros, and the Protectorate of Bracca. And I accept the invitation, knowing full well that I, as an Imperial, are being watched very closely, very carefully. I make a point of making sure that all of my weapons and armour are stowed away. I'm not showing any signs of being with the Commissariat, and that there is no reason for anyone to take any umbrage with me as we make our way out of the port to Kirinor. I want to double check. That is Kirinor, isn't it? Kirinor, not Kinneror. Because I was wondering, I was puzzling over this yesterday. Like, was it there or was it that? I managed to gaslight myself into it. So, yeah, we're now into the another major milestone of the game. I don't think we're going to be level 10. I think that might come next session, because I think the DM was debating if we were going to level up or not, and yeah, I think, to be honest, like, we've got enough stuff to justify not going to level 10 just yet. Like, we've got some new gear, you know, Tech's got some new homebrew stuff. Yeah, I think we're all pretty good at the moment, and I think we're still as well trying to settle into level 9 stuff, trying to learn what we've got. But yeah, wow. What a session, as always. I really enjoyed this one. I've enjoyed this whole arc so far, and now we're into the tropics of Eberros, and we're gonna see the Protectorate, and this will be very interesting for my character at the very least. But yeah, we get to see the magical powerhouse that is Bracca, how they do things differently, and how we're going to navigate this place, knowing that 3 of the 4 of us are agents of the Crown, and one of them is a civilian here. But it's going to be really good to see it from Tack's point of view, because he's back at home. He's no longer a fish out of water. It'll be good for Ragnar, I think, as well, because from one end, so there's more jungles and forests here, and that's more his thing. With Cornelius, I imagine now being absolutely so far away that he can't get a message without magical means to his sweetheart Maya is going to be interesting. But I'm sure he'll find some goodies to bring back for her that you can't get from the Empire, the Kingdom. At least not without it being some cheap imitation. So that's really good. If I haven't said before already, I'll say it again, that one of the other groups decided they were just going to go to Bracca right away, and all of that stuff has been prepared for them. So it'll be interesting to see if they've actually managed to playtest any of the stuff that we're about to go into. as I imagine the Adept to a Friend group, I say Adept to a group, as the HYDRA group might have done for other groups. Because honestly, like now, as someone who's DMing, I appreciate the value of playtesting and having people see this and think, is this actually okay? Does this need tweaking? Is this too tough? Is this too easy? And being able to add to it as time goes on. Cause like having things written down is very different to playing, as I have come to learn. So lessons learned have been: don't touch the thing unless you want to make a really fun and interesting story. Don't split the party, just ever. Perhaps, maybe the next lesson will be put on a bandana and go around your head. The bandana around your head going but we will see. We'll see. Also, as well, that Cornelius is an interesting singer and songwriter. As I seem to recall, I don't think there were any performance roles, and I think we know why. I'm going to end that there. Thank you ever so much for watching. Take care. It's for now, and hopefully, I'm going to make more of an effort to do session recap videos and take the time. I'm doing this on my day off. I don't have many more coming up, but I'm feeling a lot better about work. Passing my probation has helped, so that's a lot of stress off my mind. And settling into the role now, so I shouldn't be so knackered getting back from work. And we will see. But and perhaps as well, more videos coming up. I do plan on doing a review of Merkborg and Cyborg, whichever one we play, when it gets here over Easter weekend. When it gets here, and I'll be playing that about over the Easter weekend. A review of the book, the game, the adventure, and maybe some other supplemental stuff as well. And maybe as well talking about Nova Special, because I've done the first adventure of that, so I can talk a bit more about the setting, and I don't want to have too much spoiler stuff for Larissa. So we will see. So thank you ever so much for watching. I do apologise for rambling away at this ending, but yes, thank you for watching. Take care. It's for now.
Season